Hi everybody, my name is Zach and welcome to Camp TV. Are you ready for some summer fun? Me too! Now as your head counselor, I will be introducing you to all sorts of cool activities. Arts, crafts, games, math, and science, as well as some of my favorite books, nature, and theater. I will be here to take you from one activity to the next. So follow me on Camp TV.
This program was made possible by Joan Gans Cooney.
Camp TV, it's time for us to start. From furry animal encounters to summer reading and no matter what the weather, we'll explore it all together. It's a place for you and me. It's Camp TV. Hi, I'm Zach, and welcome to Camp TV. Today we'll be... Okay, but... why is everything black and white? Oh, strange. Anyway, as I was saying, I'm Zach, your head counselor, and we have so much fun in store for you. On. Today's activities will include... Okay, this is getting ridiculous. Huh? Oh. Got it. Thanks for the tip. So apparently, today is my favorite color day on Camp TV. And according to that box of crayons, all of the colors are looking to make a grand entrance. Something about not wanting to be... So, shall we brighten their day and ours? On the count of 3, let's say, welcome all pigments, colors, and tones. Ready? Welcome all pigments, colors, and tones. Whoa! Oh, wow, you got a little overexcited there? You might want to tone it down just a little. Perfect. And welcome to you too, Camp TVers. Thank you for always brightening my day. Have fun at your first activity. A little birdie told me it's time to go wild.
Hi everyone, my name is Nikki and I'm here with my friend Ross. And before we learn a little bit more about what Ross is, I want you guys out there to do me a big favor and give 2 big thumbs up because Ross is one awesome opossum. And you're also showing off something that opossums have that we do too. Not down there on their back feet, they have thumbs on their feet because that helps them climb around. Virginia opossums like Ross are something called arboreal. Can you say that word? Arboreal. Really good at climbing around and getting around in the branches to be up high and be safe, but also to find lots of yummy food to eat. Now, do you know what an opossum likes to eat? If you said anything at all, you're probably right. Opossums love to eat all kinds of things. They love to eat bugs and meat that they find, plants, fruit. They're what's called an omnivore because they like to nom nom anything that they can find to eat. Now, it's really important to have animals like opossums around, eating all the different things that they like to eat because they keep the environment nice and tidy. Even stuff that might be kind of gross to other animals, like dead things and ticks, they keep disease from spreading around the forest and even keep us human neighbors that they have healthy as well. Now, one weird snack that opossums love to eat is ticks. They love to eat ticks. They groom them off themselves and find them out in the wild, and they'll make a big snack out of them. And they can eat around 5,000 ticks every season. So they're a really important way to keep pests from bothering us. Now, opossums that make them really good climbers. Check out Ross's tail. This tail helps him to grip onto things and hold on while he's climbing. It's a prehensile tail. So if you hold your finger up and do like this, that's prehensile. So it's a really great way for him to grip onto branches and reach way out to get a snack right on the end of a branch. Now, they don't see very well. They're nocturnal. They come out at night, but they have excellent sense of smell and an excellent sense of hearing. So they can sniff their way around and listen for anything that might be coming to bother them. Now, opossums are on the menu for a lot of other animals. A lot of animals like to make a meal out of an opossum, so they have to have an important way to defend themselves. Have you ever heard of the phrase playing possum? Well, that's exactly what they do. If they feel threatened, they keel over and lay on their side. They slow their heart rate and breathing down so slow it looks like they're dead, and then they go to the bathroom on themselves so they smell dead too. And most things don't want to eat that, so they'll leave them alone, and once the danger's passed, the opossum can get right up again and keep going about its business, finding all those delicious things to eat and keeping the environment nice and clean. Now, because opossums eat so many different kinds of food, they have to have a way to eat all of them. So if you look inside your mouth in a mirror later, because right now you're learning about opossums, you'll see that you have teeth of all different shapes and sizes. And the same is true of opossums too. So opossums have teeth of all sizes too, so they can eat all the different food that they like to eat. They have big, sharp canines for ripping and tearing, and flat teeth for helping grind up plants too. They actually have more teeth than any other mammal. They have 50 teeth. When humans are adults, we only have 32. So all those teeth are really great for helping them find all the snacks that they like to eat. Now, opossums are something called a marsupial. And I bet you've heard another marsupial that's very famous. It lives in Australia. It hops around. Its babies are called joeys. Yeah, a kangaroo. Kangaroos are marsupials. Virginia opossums. That means they have a pouch that they can hold their babies in. So when their babies are born, they're really teeny tiny. They almost look like little pink jelly beans. And they climb their mother's pouch and stay there for several weeks until they're big enough to come out on their own and hold onto her back to help her get around. And then when they're a couple months old, big kid opossums all by themselves. Now, a lot of people are lucky enough to have opossums around in their house and outside in their yards, and that is a really great thing. Opossums are wonderful neighbors to have. So the next time you happen to get to be lucky enough to see an opossum, give it plenty of space and give it a thank you for doing all that they do out in the wild. A really important way that you can help opossums is by doing one simple, easy thing: cleaning up after yourself. A lot of our trash ends up smelling like food to animals, especially animals that like to eat everything, and even trash, they don't. If they smell our trash and get into it and eat it, it can make them really sick or even worse. So by making sure you pick up any litter that you find, making sure your trash gets into a trash can that has a nice secure lid on it, and even the amount of trash you make, that's a super easy and important way that you can help animals like Ross and all kinds of animals all over the world. Can you think of ways to reduce your trash? Yeah, those are great ideas. Things like coloring on both sides of your paper, using a reusable water bottle instead of a plastic one, taking your own bags to the grocery store instead of using those plastic ones. Those are all really important ways that you can help animals everywhere. Now let's take some questions. One question that everybody asks about every animal that I get to work with is, does it bite? Well, the answer is anything with a mouth can bite. As long as you don't smell like food and you're not causing any danger to the animal, that animal has no reason to bite. So even though Ross has those 50 big teeth in his head, I don't smell like food, and he knows he's safe with me, so he has no reason to. Born at a zoo and has been around humans his whole life, which is why we're able to. But if you were to try to pick up an opossum in the wild, they would not like that very much because you were big and scary. They would hiss, they would show their teeth. And if that still didn't work, they'd keel over and play possum. Again, if you see a possum in the wild, just give it lots of space so it keeps on doing its cleanup. A lot of people have about opossums is, doesn't that thing carry rabies? Actually, they don't. their body temperature is not right to harbor rabies. That is a myth. In fact, opossums do more to stop the spread of disease than they do in actually spreading it themselves. By eating all those ticks, they stop the spread of something called Lyme disease. And by eating all those dead things that they find out in the wild, they keep disease spreading from animal to animal and even from spreading to us. A lot of people also want to know, what's the difference between a possum and an opossum? Opossums are animals like Ross. They have a bald tail. They 60 species of opossums that live in North and South America, from the Virginia opossum, which is the biggest, all the way down to the short-tailed opossum, which is one of the smallest. All opossums are also omnivores. They eat all kinds of different food. But possums are a different kind of animal. They live in Australia and New Zealand, places like that. They have fuzzy tails, and they come in a wide variety of eaters, from frugivores, animals that just eat fruit, to insectivores, animals that just eat insects. And the reason they're called possums is because early explorers that came to the Americas and found opossums then went over to Australia and said, hey, these animals look pretty similar. Let's call them the same thing. But anything you see here in the United States is an opossum. And one more thing a lot of people ask about is, it's not. They're in a completely different family. Rats are rodents. They have two long teeth that grow and grow and grow and never stop, and they have to chew on things. They're related to mice, gophers, groundhogs, squirrels, and that's an entirely different family than opossums. Remember, opossums are marsupials. That's a different kind of animal. They have lots of different shaped teeth. They have a pouch to keep their baby safe, and they're related to things like kangaroos and wallabies. Well, thanks for joining us today to learn about how awesome opossums are. On behalf of myself, Ross, and everyone here at the Memphis Zoo, we hope you have a great day. Bye, everyone.
Arts and crafts? Yes, please. Let's get artsy.
Hi everyone. I'm also an artist. I like to paint, draw, and make videos. And I have a background in printmaking, and so today I'm going to show you how to do a printmaking activity. I'm going to show you how to make a collagraph, which is a kind of print. You're using ink to make your prints, but I'm going to show you some other ways to make a collagraph that doesn't use ink and also uses things you might have at home. A collagraph is a kind of relief print, like a woodcut or a linoleum cut. This means that your image is made by a raised surface that you roll ink onto, and then you press your paper onto the ink to make a print. I'm going to show you two different ways to make an image, and then instead of using ink, we're going to use crayons or coloring to reveal the image. One cool thing about this activity is that you can make as many copies of your image as you like, instead of just one. To get started, you'll need the following materials: paper. Regular printer paper works great, nothing too thick. A pencil or something else to draw with, scissors, glue stick or white glue like Elmer's, cardboard, both thicker pieces like from a box and thinner pieces from something like packaging or a cereal box, and then crayons or colored pencils. First, you'll want to sketch out your image. You can make anything you want, but I would suggest not doing anything with too many small details. Something real like a flower or an animal, or you can make a design with just shapes and lines. You could also include words like your name or a short message. Choose a piece of smaller than your paper. This will be your base. You can lay it on your paper and trace it so that your sketch is the same size. It's mostly to help you plan out what you want to make, so it doesn't need to be perfect. After you sketch your idea out, then you can begin making your plate. If you want, you can keep your sketch nearby to you as a guide, or you can draw it again onto the cardboard. Now, there are two ways to make your image. One way is to use the glue and squeeze it out slowly and carefully to make your design, kind of like you're drawing with glue. If you use this method, it might be helpful to draw your image out with a. Also, keep in mind that you will need to wait for the glue to dry until you can begin making rubbings. If you make a mistake with the glue, you can wipe it away with a tissue or paper towel while it's still wet. Once you're done, you can put the cardboard somewhere safe to dry. The other version is more like making a collage. You'll build up layers of shapes using the thin shapes out and glue them to the thick cardboard plate using a glue stick. You can use things like a cereal box or other packaging, or even thick paper like cardstock. It's best to start with big shapes to your small shapes. If you glue a big shape on top of a small shape, you won't be able to see it. But if you put a small shape on top of a big one, you'll be able to see both. Keep cutting and gluing until your image is just the way you want it. You'll also want to put the cardboard aside for 20 minutes or so to make sure all the glue is dry. Now, both of my plates are dry, so it's time to make some prints. For this part, you'll need some thinner paper like printer paper and some drawing materials like colored pencils or crayons. Carefully place the paper over your cardboard plate and hold it steady with one hand. Hold it as well. Push down and move back and forth to make a rubbing. You may want to start by pressing lightly first, and you can press harder as you go. You could use all one color or what you want. If you use more than one color, think about starting with lighter colors and moving to darker colors as you go. Here are some examples of prints I made. You could use this technique to make cards or decorations, whatever you like. Try it out with different materials and sizes and see what works best for you. You can also add other things to your prints after you make the rubbings, like adding details with marker, paint, glitter, or whatever you like. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you had fun being creative and making prints.
Jump, dance, play. It's time to get active. Let's move.
Today we're going to play a really It's similar to freeze dance, but inspired by a very old fairy tale. This fairy tale is thought to have been written in the year 1806. But as you all know, many fairy tales were passed down through spoken word in many different cultures before they were written and drawn on paper. So this fairy tale is attributed to the Brothers Grimm, two brothers who wrote many fairy tales that were mysterious and some of them a little bit spooky. This fairy tale is not very spooky. It's called The Elves and the Shoemaker. The story goes that there was a shoemaker who worked very, very hard, making all kinds making sure they were ready and great to sell. And that shoemaker was struggling and not able to make enough shoes to sell as quickly as the customers wanted to buy them. Fell asleep one night. Something interesting happened in the shoemaker's shop. Do you know what it was? Well, into the shop came creeping little elves and dancers. The shoemaker was fast asleep and had no idea what was going on. So, ready? We're going to call this shoe position. You hold the shoe in whatever shape you want. Stops. You stop in shoe position. I wonder what kind of shoes those little elves made. So, once the elves came sneaking into the shop, everybody sneak, sneak, sneak in. Shoe position. The elves began stitching, sewing, and what kind of shoes do you want them to make? The elves made shoes with very, very high heels. These heels were so wobbly that when they put the shoes on, the elves while they walked. Shoe position. The little elves stitched, sewed, and hammered. They created another pair of shoes. What do you want it to be? Okay, the little elves used a bit too much oil on shining them, and these shoes were so slippery. What will happen when the elves try these shoes on? Shoe position. The little elves stitched, sewed, and hammered, and they made yet another pair of shoes. What kind of shoes should they make? Okay, well, they made some shoes that were great for tap dancing. These shoes had really firm bottoms, really hard bottoms, so that when they moved their feet, the elves made a tapping sound. Shoe position. Last pair. They sewed, they hammered, and what kind of shoes did they make? Oh, okay. Well, that sounds really fun. What about super bouncy, boingy shoes? Shoes with springs on the inside. Dancers, let's see. Try them on. Here we go. The elves felt like they could touch the sky. Freeze. And the elves snuck out of the shoemaker's shop. But they watched through a window. When the shoemaker the next day, that shoemaker was so amazed. Elves, great job helping the shoemaker. High five, elves, high five.
Welcome back. Do you have a favorite color? For me, sometimes it's green, sometimes orange or blue. But why pick just one? With primary colors, you really don't have to. Here, let me show you. It's time for a Zach Challenge! Colors and turn them into 6. Impossible, you say? Just watch. Here I have inside some inexpensive hair gel. I added a little bit of food coloring to each bag. One with red, one with blue, and one with yellow. I smushed them up and voila, 3 pretty primary colors. I'm also going to be careful not to stain anything with the food coloring. Now, watch what happens when I overlap these corners. Not only do we have the red, blue, and yellow that we started with, we also have 3 new colors joining us: green, orange, and purple, also known as secondary colors. And just like that, out of the blue, and red, and yellow. Music, dance, magic, and more step right up to center stage.
Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Miss Ashley and I'm from Lincoln Center. Today we're going to be making some really fun choices with our voices and doing something kind of speak-singy called recitative to really tell a story. Sounds something like this. I'm so glad you're here with me to learn about recitative. I hope you have fun and make one. So that's recitative. Now, in order to really try out recitative or recitative, we should know where it comes from first. It actually comes from something called opera, which is a dramatic story set to music. So in opera, there's not really any actual talking that happens. So when characters really want to help tell the story and speak to each other, they use recitative or recitative. Now, 2 things that we need to really try out our recitative today. We need 1, accents. So when we speak a line like, I'm so happy you're here today, we give accents or emphasis to certain words as we would naturally say them. Now, in order for it to become that speak-singy recitative, we need to add some pitch to it, which is simply the highness or the lowness or kind of in the middle of where we would sing it. So instead of it being, I'm so happy you're here with me today, it might sound like, I'm so happy you're here with me today. Do you hear how we have different pitches and different accents that happen to really bring out the way we naturally say it, only sing it? So I thought it would be fun if we pretend that we're composers for a little bit. A composer is the person who writes the music for the opera. So if our opera is about, let's say it's about a family night in. And I don't know about you, but when I was a little girl, I had something that I always needed help with almost every night. Homework. So, what if my character is the younger me, the younger Miss Ashley, asking for help with her homework, asking her mom for help? Take a look at this text, and that's simply the words or the dialogue that I need to say that I'm going to turn into recitative. Let's take a look at it and make some choices with accent. So I'm going to read the first line, and you can read it at home as well. And then we'll see where we want to put some accents in that line. Mom, I really need help with my homework. So what happens if I put it my? Might sound like this. Mom, I really need help with my homework. Remember, recitative is about natural ways that you would say something. So that may feel natural to some, but that doesn't feel really natural to me. So what if I put the accent on really? How would that sound? Mom, I homework. Yeah, that feels more natural. So if I wanted to add some pitch to that, it might sound like this. Mom, I really need help with my homework. And do you see how it automatically becomes recitative? Okay, so let's try this out a couple more times, okay? And then we'll be really cooking with gas. So on our next line, we have, will you please rescue me? Now we have some choices here. You could say, will you please rescue me? Really giving emphasis to the word please. Or you could say, will you please rescue me? Well, I kind of feel about this help with my homework. So I might say, will you please rescue me? So all of that with pitch might sound like, Mom, I please rescue me. And do you see how we're really getting that speak, singy recitative? Okay, so let's take a look at the rest of the recitative. And I'll read it, and you can read it at home, and then we'll see where we want to put the rest of our accents. So we know that we have, Mom, I really need help with my homework. Will you please rescue me? Where do you think accents should go in the rest of the text? I'll love you forever. I really need help. I don't know what I'm doing. This math is driving me crazy. Now, it's totally okay if your lines have a few accented words in them, because that's the way that you would naturally say it. So why don't you at home listen in and then look at the text and then tell me what words you think I'm really accenting. We already know really and rescue. Mom, I really need help with my homework. Will you please rescue me? I'll love you forever. Thank you. I really need help. I don't know what I'm doing. This math is driving me crazy. The text and then see which ones I accented. So as you can see, I have little pops of accents all around there. So let's hear what that sounds like. And I want you at home to start trying to sing it, sing it with me. And we'll start from the beginning and see what happens. Mom, I really need help with my homework. Will you please rescue me? I'll love you forever. Thank you. I really need help. I don't know what I'm doing. This math is driving me crazy. Okay. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you had so much fun playing with your voice and making some choices with your voice to make some Remember to make choices with your voices and try out your own recitatives at home. I'm Miss Ashley from Lincoln Center. Goodbye, everyone.
Curiosity and wonder. Let's discover together. It's Science Wow!
About dinosaurs, because since I was little, that's what I study. In fact, I love them so much, I travel all over the country with a traveling dinosaur exhibit, and maybe one day I'll get the chance to see you when you come in and meet all of my amazing friends. Of all the dinosaurs I have, there is one that is called the king, and that's Tyrannosaurus Rex. The two questions I get from everybody is, why is it called the king of the dinosaurs? And its teeth are the size of a banana. That's what I hear all the time. Well, first let me tell you why it's called the king. Because the name Tyrannosaurus Rex means tyrant lizard king. Those are Latin words. Tyrannosaurus Rex are 3 words. Tyrant lizard king. It will always be the king of the dinosaurs, even though there's some meat eaters that are larger than Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's still going to be called the king. And by the way, T-Rex and Tyrannosaurus Rex are the same animal. Tyrannosaurus Rex is its real name, T-Rex is its nickname. So are its teeth the size of a banana like everybody says? I see it in books, I hear it from people. Well, the answer is they're even bigger than a banana. You see, when you look at the tooth of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, when you see it in the skull, it doesn't look that long. That's not the length of a banana. Well, that's because you're not looking at the root. The root is the long part that fits up in the jaw. Our teeth have roots, so does T-Rex. So if you could see through the bone, what you would see is way up inside is the root. So the tooth is actually 12 inches long. I've got a project for you. Look around the house, find a tape measure, and see if you can find something in your house that is 12 inches long. And when you do, then you'll realize just how big that tooth is. The other amazing thing about T-Rex, their teeth are sort of like the teeth of a shark. They fall out, a new tooth grows back, over and over and over. We find more T-Rex teeth than T-Rex skeletons. Why? Because it loses hundreds of teeth in its life. It only loses its skeleton once. And that's not a good thing when that happens. So, when you see the tooth of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, I want you to remember, yes, it is the size of a banana, but that's when you count the root. Stan, Sue, Y-Rex, Z-Rex? What are those names? Well, do you know every T-Rex gets its own name? This one is Stan, and they all look different. That's like you and I. We're the same species, but we all look a little different. Do you know the same thing happens with Tyrannosaurus Rex? Every skull looks very different. They would have been able to recognize individuals. Well, we give them names so that we can recognize who we're talking about. This dinosaur, Tyrannosaurus Rex, is named Stan. A bigger one than this was one named Sue. You might have heard of Sue. So when you hear us talk about the names of them, each specimen gets its own name or number so that scientists know who they are. Looking at this dinosaur, it looks different than the one I just showed you, but they're both Tyrannosaurus Rexes. They all had different faces. They all have the same equipment. That's these giant teeth. So if you see pictures of Tyrannosaurus Rex and you want to know why it looks different than another T-Rex, it's because they were all individuals just like you and I. Not all meat eaters are created equally. They're different sizes, but they're all related. This is the skull of Eoraptor, a tiny little meat eater, one of the first meat-eating dinosaurs. Now, it had the sharp teeth like all of its later ancestors, but it was tiny. Well, you can see compared to this dinosaur, they don't look anything alike, and yet they are related. This is a dinosaur called Saurophaganax. It lived millions of years before Tyrannosaurus Rex. So this is sort of like Tyrannosaurus Rex's great-great-great-great-grandparent. Now, Saurophaganax, just like little Eoraptor, would have been very dangerous for their time. They were carnivores, they were relatively fast, this one much faster than this one, but you can look by the shape of the eyes, it doesn't look exactly like a T-Rex because it's not a T-Rex, it's an earlier ancestor. So my young friends, if you want to be a paleontologist and study more about dinosaurs, here's my advice to you. Practice your reading, practice your math. We use math in paleontology a lot. And if you become good at both of those and you want to join me, you can come on board with us and travel with this amazing world of dinosaurs.
Ready for some math that counts? Count on!
I'm Joy from Bedtime Math, and today we're going to program our friends to walk like robots. Have you ever seen a robot? What is a robot anyway? A robot is a programmable machine, much like this computer, meaning that people write a set of instructions or a program that tells it what to do. Robots only understand commands that are written step by step in a specific code. A code is a series of words and symbols. You may have heard the term coding. That's just another way of saying you're writing a program to tell your robot what to do. Why do you think the program has to be written so carefully? It's so every robot does exactly the same thing every time. A robot in a car factory better build every car the same way. You wouldn't want one that's missing a wheel. Let's write a program and email it to our friends and see how well they follow our commands.
Let's see, how about left foot take one step, right foot take one step, left foot take one step, right foot take one step, right arm raise halfway, right arm bend up, right arm wave, left foot raise, hop, 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 left foot down, stop waving, right arm straight out, right arm down. Let's send that to them and see how it works.
Hey, Cheyenne and Giancarlo. We have an email from Joy at Bedtime Math. Let's see what it says. She's written a code for you two to program me as a robot.
We can't wait to make you walk like a robot. Left foot, take one step. Right foot, take one step. Left foot, take one step. Right foot, take one step. Right arm, raise halfway. Right arm, bend up. Right arm, wave. Left foot, raise. Hop, hop, hop. Left foot down. Stop waving. Right arm straight out. Say right arm down.
Let's see how successfully we programmed our robot.
Now you try it. Learning how to write, program, and code is a great way to practice your math skills. Have fun. Bye.
Let's discover together. It's Science Wow!
I'm about to take you on a virtual field trip where the regular public can't usually go, behind the scenes at the DIA. Let's go check it out. We're meeting with Kathy Selvius-DeRue. She's a research scientist at the DIA.
Hi, are you Morgan?
Yeah.
Oh, come on in. This is a sculpture of St. Francis, and we have questions about the history of the painted surface. This sculpture is about 400 years old, and we're interested to find out the pigments that were used to paint the surface of this sculpture.
What do you mean by pigments?
Pigments are the colorants that are used to create a painting. The color you see on this sculpture, 400 years ago, most pigments that were used by artists were from the earth. They were mineral-based, that were ground up to a very fine powder and then mixed with some sort of binding medium and then painted on the surface of St. Francis or even on a painting.
Now, why are we looking at the pigments?
Well, we have questions about the surface on St. Francis. This is paint over wood. We know that he's a wooden sculpture. And we're wondering if the painted surface that we see today is the original surface or not. The workhorse instrument is an instrument known as an X-ray fluorescence spectrometer. We typically refer to it as XRF.
XRF, remember that.
X-ray fluorescence spectrometer.
Okay.
And what it does is it gives us information about the elements in a material. And by elements I mean, is there iron in this pigment? Is there copper in this pigment? Understanding the elements present helps you figure out what pigments could likely be present. It is totally non-destructive. The technique, nothing touches the object.
Okay.
We just fire a very narrowly focused X-ray beam at the surface of the object.
How about we check out an XRF spectrum?
The X-rays will come out this little red-tipped orifice here. This is a video-guided system. And the X-ray beams will hit exactly where crosshairs and the laser pointer intersect.
She tries to align the laser and the crosshairs together so she can get that perfect point.
So I'm there.
She did it.
Okay.
So this graph is showing us what elements are present in the paint. So how many times do you do this? Can you tell us?
In the case of this particular sculpture, I took more than 20 spectra from various locations on the sculpture of St. Francis. We're looking at St. Francis's knuckle.
Okay.
And we're trying to figure out which pigments are present. And when I see this sort of pattern here, they indicate the presence of lead. But then there's this one here. They're very close to the lead peaks, but they're very distinctive and indicate the presence of mercury. You know, this is primarily lead white with the presence of mercury to give it that pinkish hue. And
okay.
The mercury red, the mercuric sulfide red, that would have been mixed with lead white to create the pink surface of his knuckle. So if we go back into the XRF room and we pull St. Francis away, have another look at the knuckle.
Okay.
And you will see that it's pink.
So what did you ultimately learn from all the research you did on St. Francis?
What we learned that the painted surface that you see on St. Francis right now is not the original surface, that the painted surface that you see now was applied sometime around the late 18th century or later.
So Kathy, what subjects does somebody have to study to do what you do?
Chemistry, physics, biology, geology, and
that's
then
pretty much all the science, right?
all of the sciences. All of the sciences influence conservation science, and then it helps to have a ferocious curiosity too.
Okay.
So now take a look at that knuckle.
Yeah.
What do you see?
Pink, mercury, it's pink.
Yeah,
I
so
see the
you
pink.
have the mercury sulfide red mixed with the lead white to give that pinkish flesh tone.
Let's get artsy.
Hi, I'm Joel Zavala with the Chicago Park District, and today we're going to do some painting with mud. Now, this is a super fun and easy activity that you can do both indoors and outdoors, but it can get a little messy, but that's what makes it so much fun. Now, mud is simply just dirt mixed with a little bit of water. I got my dirt from my backyard. You can get yours from your backyard, you can go to your garden or your local park and get some. It's literally everywhere. When you're mixing it with water, make sure to just add a little bit at a time. If it gets too thick, just add a little bit more water, and if it gets too watery, then just add a little bit more soil. Now, if you're painting with regular paint, you'd use a paintbrush just like this. But when you're painting with mud, I think it's fun to use things that you find out in nature to paint with. So I took a few minutes and I walked around my local park and I looked for things in nature that inspired me to paint with. So first of all, I found this stick. I wanted to see how it would paint. Then I found this dry flowered head that really reminded me of a paintbrush. Next, I found this what looks like a wheat stalk with some grains on it. And then I have this flower head from grass that has a lot of rough texture on it. And lastly, I got another stick that I whittled to a fine edge to use for details. So after I gathered my materials, I looked around for a few more sticks and I tied them to the stick to make a paintbrush handle. I just use a pipe cleaner. You can use tape or you can use a rubber band. Anything that you have at home will work. So now we have our paint, we have our tools, and for a canvas, I'm gonna use this recycled packing paper, but you can use anything that you have at home. You can use the back of a cereal box, really anything will work. Okay, so let's get started. I'm gonna use the stick to just mix up the mud a little bit more, and then we're gonna go ahead and see how that goes on. So let's just make a line here for our horizon. It's nice and messy, but you can see that we're getting some nice lines out of there for horizon. Let's add maybe a little mountain there. So that's the stick. Now let's try some of our other tools. Let's start with this paintbrush here. Get in the mud there and smear it on. Look at that, just like a regular paintbrush, it's working perfectly. We'll add some ridges to our mountain there. All right, now let's try this grass flower head. It has this kind of rough texture on there, so it should grab onto the paint well. Let's dip it in our mud. Let's get another little mountain here. And look at that. It works almost like a fine brush there, and we'll add this ridge line there. Very cool. Lastly, I want to go ahead and just use this stick that I whittled to a point. I'm hoping it can help me get some of the details there. And let's put a little river in our valley. It's not about getting a perfect picture. It's just about going out, having fun, and getting a little dirty. And like every great artist, make sure you sign your work by using your finger. Very cool.
Have you ever noticed that different colors can make you feel different ways? Take red, for example. When I think of red, I think, stop, or hot, don't touch. How about blue? Blue makes me feel calm and peaceful. What about the color green? I think of nature and trees, even recycling. And yellow? What does yellow make you think of or feel? Bright sunny days, feeling happy. There's also something really great about something being a color you're not expecting. For example, a purple potato or a rainbow bagel. A feast for your eyes and all your senses. Color brings so much joy to this world, and it's everywhere. All you have to do is look around. A little birdie told me it's time to go wild. Daytime or nighttime, it's always time for story time.
Hi there! My name is Caitlin Weinstein and I'm a school outreach librarian for the New York Public Library. I know what you're probably thinking. What does that mean? Well, as a school outreach librarian, I get to travel to different schools and visit classrooms all over Staten Island. And I get to talk to kids about the library just like I'm talking to you right now. I love my job as a librarian because I get to talk to kids about the wonderful things that they can do when they come visit us. They can get a library card and check out books or even use the computer. I also get to share my favorite stories with children, like the one I'm going to share with you today. So the book that I have is Redwoods by Jason Chin, and he wrote the story and illustrated it, which I think is really cool because that means he's so talented that he was able to put this whole book together. Now, here's a fun fact. Did you know that giant redwoods are trees that can grow over 360 feet tall? That's even taller than the Statue of Liberty. Have you ever seen a tree that tall? You know, last July, I visited California and I got to see these redwoods in real life. There are many redwoods on the West Coast, in both California and in Oregon. And when I went to Northern California, I got to see the Redwood National Forest and actually touch these trees in real life. Humboldt County, California even has a highway called Avenue of the Giants where there's a tree so big that you can drive your car through it. So this book, it's about a young boy. He's actually probably right around your age. He goes on a subway ride with a book that he's reading, all about redwood trees. His imagination runs wild, and he gets lost in the book. And suddenly he finds himself in the forest among all of these beautiful redwood trees. The reason I love this book is because it really shows just how books can take you on a journey to places that you've never been before. Now, let's take a little adventure of our own and read a few pages of Redwoods. Where do you think our main character might be? I think here he's at a subway station. And look, there he's found a book, Redwoods by Jason Chin. The coast redwoods are among the oldest trees in the world. Their ancestors lived about 165 million years ago during the Jurassic period. I think I spot some creatures from the Jurassic period, some dinosaurs. One tree can live for more than 2,000 years, which means that there are trees alive today that first sprouted during the Roman Empire. And look, we've got some ancient Roman soldiers here. Now, do you think those soldiers are really there on the subway with him? I think he might be imagining them. Now, what do you like to read?
I love stories just to learn stuff when it's not in fiction. I also like ones about mummies, volcanoes, and other cool stuff.
What was your favorite part of the book, Redwoods?
Well, sort of all of it, but the most part that I like is when they describe how tall trees are. And it's really amazing.
Why should someone else read Redwoods?
You should read this book because you learn stuff. And there's so much to learn about it.
What did you learn about redwood forests from this book?
If you climb it, it can be very dangerous. And surprisingly, if it's so tall that you have to shoot a bow and arrow to get up really high. It's pretty amazing. And scientists have gone so far up to explore this place, they got lost.
If you liked the way this book explores nature and science in a fun and engaging way, you might also enjoy a couple of other books, like In the Canyon by Elizabeth Garton Scanlon and Bones by Steve Jenkin. Both of these books kind of explore science in the same fun way that Redwoods does. Bye!
To part from furry animal encounters to summer reading and the arts. No matter what the weather, we'll explore it all together. It's a place for you and me. It's Camp TV.
This program was made possible in part by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people. Additional funding was provided by Joan Gans Cooney. Content provided by these institutions.